What's going on, guys? It's MurderInc here, back with another champion spotlight video. Today I'm really excited to talk about this guy. In my opinion, this is the most feels good champion in the game. For me, it's all about big numbers, and this guy is not only the Mountain King, but the king of big numbers. So let's jump right into it. For his skills, we have an attacks one enemy based on HP and attack, HP being the higher multiplier. Pretty straightforward. A2, another real straightforward skill, ignores 50% of the target's defense, HP and attack again. A3 ignores shield and block damage buffs, another damage dealing ability, HP and attack multiplier. Getting onto his passive, increases this champion's attack by 50% each time this champion kills an enemy, stacks up to 100%, resets each round. So everything we've just talked about just goes to show this guy is meant to be a crazy damage dealer, and he is just that. So before we move on, let's go over the value of skills. Due to his role as being just a crazy damage dealer, pretty much every skill minus a couple just increases the damage of the champion. So if you want to maximize potential of his damage, you can absolutely book him. I don't personally think it's required, but obviously it comes down to what you as the champion holder plans to do. And as far as the A2, this is what I'm referring to as far as the reduced cooldown. 5 turns isn't bad, 4 turns isn't bad, it's all the same. Same thing applies to Regal Force. This one does ignore shield and block damage, so you might get a higher benefit reducing the cooldown of this one, but once again, up to you guys. Maybe you're here because you pulled him during the double event. If that's the case, huge congratulations. This guy is an absolute monster. So now let's talk about the artifacts I used for most of my champions. As you can see, if you've watched my videos in the past, Savage gear is life for me. So I threw him in a 4-piece Savage, 2-piece Immortal for that health boost. I was lucky enough to have a health-based Savage gear set, which is huge to have. Let's take a look at these total stats. He's got 95,000 health, 2,800 attack, 2,200 defense, 179 speed. Before I go on, I do want to talk about speed a little bit. One huge mistake I do see with Mountain King players, in my opinion, is when people build, they don't use speed boots, they go for health boots with crazy crit rate and crit damage. That's good, but if the enemy team can one-shot your Mountain King, he takes a ton of damage. Since most people don't build any realistic defense on him, not as ideal. If you're running with a really quick ally attack champion in any whatever you're doing, or a turn meter booster, it's fine, you can get away with low speed. I personally prefer to go with, I mean, my speed here isn't crazy, but it's not really low like I've seen for some Mountain Kings, so I like this because it helps him cycle through his cooldowns a bit quicker, and that's kind of the goal I went for. I did not go the resistance route because I do run Duchess. So getting back to the stats, we have 102% crit rate, 266% crit damage. I'm going over his base stats: 31,000 health, monster health, highest in the game, as opposed to speed, 85 speed, extremely low. So this makes it a lot harder to make a Mountain King quick, but you just have to work with what you're handed, and overall, amazing champion. So this is what I ended up doing for the masteries. Looking back at this, I know I did this quite a bit ago. I'm not really sure where I was going for with this mastery build. Maybe some synergy with Tormund, which is why I took Opportunist. Can't really see another reason why I would have taken this. Outside of that, another questionable talent I took was Shadow Heal. I probably should have taken Resurgent. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with everything else. It would have been nice to have Methodical. Although, to be honest, if you've seen from any of my past videos, he's not using his A1 often unless it's a counterattack. Usually it's A2 one-shot, A3 one-shot. That only leaves 2 champions left. Now the question at hand, where can Mountain King shine? He's usually known as a very strong arena champion, and there's no doubt about him being an arena champion. One thing I wanted to go over that I haven't personally tested, but I have a really good feeling about it and think it would work, especially due to his high health. I think he could be used in Clan Boss. Now, this might be crazy, this might sound crazy, maybe you've never heard this before. I haven't heard this before, but I have a feeling that his raw damage alone can compete, not as good as poisoners, but at the poison level, especially with the counterattack. And when you counterattack, it does reduce the amount of damage you do on a counterattack. You do not get full damage from your A1, but still, his A1 does ramp up, especially with Methodical, as mentioned before. Lifesteal gear is usually dependent on masteries. Now, he hits so hard, it's more likely than not that he can full heal without having to rely on mastery procs, which is huge for this champion's kit. So I want to say your early game, mid game, possibly end game. I only say possibly because I haven't tested it yet. I don't want to sound too sure about this because I haven't tried it, but I can tell you for a fact that early game, mid game, this guy is a great choice for Clan Boss. Ton of health, huge survivability. His defense isn't even low. 1100 for an attack champion is rather high. So on top of that, he can heal himself really well with masteries. And if you put him in lifesteal gear, that's another huge bonus. So if you guys have ever tried this champion in Clan Boss, leave a comment below if you would consider trying it. Please do let me know how it went. Really curious about this, and I personally believe through all of the champions that I've tested that this would definitely work. Now, another really common gear set to use on a Mountain King due to his high health is a shield set. Now, the shield set is 30% HP ally shield for 3 turns. If I have a Mountain King, 100,000 health, granted he's in Savage gear, so I could probably, with my gear, give him 150,000 health, but we'll stick with 100 because that's what I have now. So 30% shield, that is 30,000 shield on all of your champions for 3 turns in arena or in dungeons because it does reset per wave. So that is huge for survivability, and you can now use an attack-based hard-hitting champion as a utility character in dungeons. Huge point. Don't overlook it if you have him. He can definitely help you progress. Now, while we're talking about shield sets, one thing to comment on, if you do have multiple champions in a shield set, it does stack on top of each other, which can also be huge, especially with a giant boost from someone like a Mountain King. So imagine a 60,000 shield on a champion with decent defense, really hard to break unless someone strips the debuff from you. Now that we've gone over who he is, what his kit does, let's look at him in action here. So 62,000 without any debuffs, that's pretty huge. 156,000, I mean, I'm a big numbers guy. I love to see stuff like this. So this is, for me, what makes him such a good champion and why he's a ton of fun to play with. This run is going to be a bit slow, but to be honest, I would watch this all day because, like I said, big numbers are big numbers no matter how you go about it. 155,000 on an ally attack. A1 still hitting for 62,000. What more could you want from a champion? Granted, no one's going to target him in this run because he has red affinity. Even if they did, they would barely be denting him. As we saw there, 200,000 crit. 168,000. I'm really interested to see. I've never personally ran him in Dragon before, so I want to see what he does against this boss here. So he did 48,000 with no debuffs, not bad. I know he does have, okay, so 125 without any debuffs. 105 from the A1. So I really want to see him use an A2 or an A3 here. There's 116 from the A1. 109. Let's see what we can do. 138. Like I just said there, if you can see in the side of the screen, he took practically no damage. We have a 218,000 crit there. Granted, I did use a random selection of champions. He did a ton of damage, as you can see. 1.5 mil. Outshined even my poison or Dracomorph. Like I was saying before, it's just an insane champion to have. All right, so now let's take a look at Mountain King, where he shines. I don't want to say the most. He's definitely a monster in arena, but as I showed before, his damage can be very strong in other places of the game. So let's give him a go in Platinum Arena. We got the extra turn from Rotos. Fortunately, Rotos does like to steal the thunder. Don't want to risk losing too many battles. Alright, so now let's smack this. We'll use the A2. Goodbye, Dracomorph. 147,000 damage with no debuffs. This is why I play the game. All of these big hits here. On to the next battle. Protect the team. Get this ally attack rolling. We will take out Ceres because she is an absolute problem with the decrease attack. Now let's one-shot Golden Reaper. When you gear a Mountain King well enough, he just one-shots everyone. Unless he has an attack down buff, even still, it's more likely than not that he's going to one-shot your target if you gear him properly. The only chance is if you're fighting a strong affinity and he gets a weak hit, and I've still seen insane weak hits like 17,000. May seem like a little bit, but if you've ever weak hit a champion before, you know that 17,000 is a lot. Now we're going to have Rotos going in a second. Clean up this Skull Crown, extra turn. And we'll just throw this on auto. We will watch the previous fusion get absolutely dominated by Mountain King and the new fusion Rotos. He usually steals the show no matter what I do, but this is really a spotlight on Mountain King. So with Dwarf Faction Wars out and rolling, I do want to highlight that Mountain King will be absolutely huge for any type of progression, especially getting onto those bosses that I talked about in my Faction War videos that usually are a problem. This guy can, even up to the late stages, he can one-shot a ton of these bosses based on his damage. Obviously, this is a lower level Faction War, but this guy can do some mean damage going forward. He does have to worry about debuffs and so on and so forth. Like I said, for now, this is a low level. I'm pretty sure he could solo pretty high. But this is the second week and we can only go so far, even if we do 3-star every single stage. So as we saw there, 48-second clear. This guy is the jack of all trades when it comes to just raw damage and one-shotting champions. Alright guys, before we head off, I do want to talk about some other gear sets that can be very beneficial to a Mountain King. If you want to build him really tanky, you can go for Stalwart, which reduces AoE attacks. I know right now we're slowly shifting away from an AoE meta, but if you are in a lower tier arena rank, Stalwart gear isn't a bad option. Another one I like to highlight often is Avenging. 30% chance to counterattack when hit with a critical hit. Like I said, he does have a lot of health, but he also does take a lot of damage, so this can absolutely improve your chances of winning just based on him counterattacking all of the time. Even if you do have the defensive tree talent, this just gives him an additional 30% to counterattack. Another very strong set to put on Mountain King is Relentless gear. From how I've described him already and from what you've seen, you can kind of imagine how scary this champion can be if even one turn procs. Because like I said, he just one-shots everybody. So if you're giving him another chance to one-shot someone from a gear set, their team could be in a ton of trouble. The only other option that really stood out to me from the start was Frenzy. Since he has so much health, he does lose it very quickly, and 5% HP loss isn't a ton. So if he gets hit really hard, loses a 50% of his health, 50% is the equivalent of a full turn meter. So this kind of plays along with the Relentless topic and point. The more turns he gets, the more lethal he can be. So this is something where you can absolutely throw this gear set on him, get him some extra turns, and just watch him dominate for you. Whether it's in arena or even PvE content. Like I showed you before, he doesn't get hit very hard, but maybe towards more endgame, dungeons, he will be taking a lot more damage, so this is absolutely an option for you. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Had a ton of fun going over my personal favorite legendary in the game. Let me know what you thought of the video. Like, subscribe, make sure you turn on that notification bell so you know every time I upload a video. And actually, right after shooting this video, I'm going to get right into shooting the Ignatius Champion Spotlight video, because a ton of people instantly right off the bat started commenting saying, we want to see it, we want to see it. So a little spoiler from Nightmare. As you can see here, 17 seconds is my best time. So I'm going to start working on that video right away. And until next time, thanks for the support. Peace out.